Hey, welcome to Granny Storytime. Today we're reading a book by Steve Baines and it's called Rodney Meets the Space Invaders and it's a Rodney Rainbow Fish book. So illustrated by Gavin Ireland. So let's have a look and read about Rodney meeting the Space Invaders. Wonder what it's about. The blurb on the back says this: Rodney Rainbow and his creep companions face many environmental challenges, both natural and unnatural: flooding, drought, pollutants, and invasive fish. Plants and animals cause concern and at times chaos for these little Aussie battlers. Let's not think of it as responsibility to care for these unique underwater inhabitants. Let's consider it as an opportunity and a privilege to support Rodney and his mates. Okay, let's read on. In his, in his last adventure, Rodney Rainbow and his friends had a very narrow escape from the irresponsible dumping of rubbish in their waterway. Little did they know that the incident was about to cause even more trouble. Along with the rubbish from the shed was a large glass jar that had been overlooked by the Landcare group. Being clear glass, it was difficult to see because it was camouflaged well in the water in the creek. And it was easy to see why, because it had fallen into a cavity behind some large tree roots. I can see some eyes in it though. I wonder what the eyes are. To wait and see. It wasn't the jar itself that was a major cause for concern, but rather what the jar contained. You see, the person who had intentionally discarded his rubbish into the creek had also discarded this large jar, and it contained fish previously belonging to his children. See, the children had all grown up and moved away, and the fish had also grown, but they couldn't move away. At first, the man thought to put them down the drain, but he decided to set them free in Rodney's Creek, along with all the other rubbish. These fish, called swordtails and platus, were from South America, and in ideal conditions, they could give birth to about 60 live babies every month. Some of them were olive green with red horizontal stripes, very similar to some of the markings on Rodney's rainbow fish and his friends. I wonder if this introduced species is going to actually take over and cause environmental concerns. This is where things turn chaotic. Rodney Rainbow, Hardyhead, Honey Blue-eyed, Olive Perchlet, Fiona Firetail, and many of the other creek community lay eggs too. And when their eggs hatch, the baby fish, known as fry, are very, very, very tiny. When baby swordtails and platies are born, they immediately go in search of things to eat. They often eat the eggs of Rodney Rainbow and his friends. They grow fast and in a very short time have many more babies of their own. This leads to overcrowding as they invade the space of Rodney and his community. Thankfully, Leo and his land care group are here to help yet once again. Providing good oh, Providing a good habitat and educating people about releasing invasive species helps Rodney and his friends when their space is invaded. Sadly, ideal conditions in areas where Rodney and his friends live make it extremely difficult to put fish back in the jar. And on the back page here is some invasive species that the author talks about and some of the natural species or the native inhabitants of the creek. And just see, two invasive species can upset the whole ecosystem. And as I was reading this book, I was thinking about the Murray River carp or the carp in the Murray River and also the cane toad and how they've impacted Australia's wildlife too. You might know some other invasive species that have impacted our native wildlife or the native wildlife in the country you live in. What ones do you know? Maybe share it with your mum or dad or with someone else that you know. Thank you for listening to Granny's Storytime. I hope you've really enjoyed this environmentally friendly book of Rodney meets the Space Invaders. Thank you for listening to Granny's Storytime. If you liked it, press the like button below or subscribe. Thank you.